Hello and welcome to Workbooks End User Training. This is part of a series of short tutorials guiding you through the basics of using workbooks. Many of the screens you'll see in workbooks display data in a grid layout, and you're able to customize them to help you find data more easily. This tutorial is going to look at views and filters and how you can apply them within the product. When you click on the Start arrow in workbooks, my one is up here at the top left. Yours might be somewhere different because you can move it. But when you click on it, you'll see a menu to help you navigate around. The exact options that you see may differ from the ones here, and notice that some of the options, like sales and also marketing, have submenus which reveal more navigation options for you. Regardless of which option you select, you'll be taken to what we describe as a landing page. And a landing page is simply a collection of records of the same type grouped together, a bit like a home page for that record type. All landing pages share the same functionality, and their layout can be customized to meet your requirements. Any changes that you do make are specific to your login and won't affect other users. Once you know how to customize one landing page, you can use the same approach to customize other ones. So I'm going to open the one for organizations using the option here. You'll see that there is a column on the left-hand side which is split into three areas. At the top are actions, and you can see I can create a new organization from here. If I was on the people landing page, I could create a new person and so on. The next section is views. We provide you with some filtered views of records which you can modify if you want to, or you can create your own views, which we're going to cover later in this tutorial. And then at the bottom are queues. I'm not covering queues in this tutorial, but in essence they're a way of assigning a record to a group of people, a bit like an email distribution list. Currently on the right hand side is just one row of data about Aerosystems Insurance, but if I go to the left hand column and change my view to all organisations, I can see a lot more rows of data. And in fact, if you look down in the bottom right hand corner, I'm told that we're displaying currently on this page rows 1 to 20 of a total of 228. You can actually change within your preferences how many rows of data appear on the screen in any one time, and that's covered in a separate tutorial. Along the bottom here you can see that we're looking at page 1 of 12, and I can use the arrows to page through or page back. You can open records from here just by clicking on them. So if I were to click on Workbooks, as you'd expect, that opens up the Workbooks organisation record. There are some other bits of functionality with some types of fields. It depends what they are. Some of them are interactive. If I hover next to telephone number, for instance, I see a down arrow, which if I click on it, again, I can open the Workbooks record if I want, or if I've integrated with a VoIP system, I could call this telephone number. Alternatively, I could call the number and automatically create a Workbooks phone call activity. Email's a little bit similar. I've only got one here, but if I go over to emails and click on the down arrow there, again I can open the Workbooks record, or I can use this particular email address with my email client, which for me is Outlook, and send them an email. Or I can send a Workbooks email. Email is covered again in a separate tutorial. You can activate more columns in these grids by hovering over the title bar. It doesn't matter which column I hover over, but as I do you'll see a down arrow appears at the right hand side. When I click on it you get various options, including sorting this particular column, ascending or descending, which I'm sure would be intuitive to you. You can add filters, and we are going to be adding filters a little later. But what I'm interested in right now is columns. When I come down here, I get an alphabetical list of all the columns that I can switch on and activate in this view if I choose to. It is a long list. You can see there's a little scroll bar at the bottom, and there's a lot in here. To make it slightly easier, if you hover over this particular column and type the first letter of the field that you're interested in, so for example if I want to see the column that tells me what industry these organisations are in, if I type I, you can see that the highlight has jumped down to the first I's in the list, and here's the industry one that I wanted. So I've clicked on that. If I click away, it's added industry in. Here it is, this column here. Once you've got the columns switched on that you want to see, you can rearrange them simply by dragging and dropping. Go to the column that you want to move, click your left mouse, and then just drag it to any of these joins, if you like, between the columns where you can drop it. Once you've got all the columns in view that you want to see and in the order that you want to see them, do remember to go up to the View button towards the top right hand corner, this one, and click Save. If you don't, then every time you go back to this view, it will have gone back to sort of like the factory settings, if you like, the default settings. So do remember to click Save. Remember too, any changes you make don't affect how your colleagues see things. But you can create views that you give a name to and share with other users if they'll find them useful. Let's say, for example, that you want to find all the organisations in your system in the IT industry in London with more than 500 employees. And you can use filters to achieve this. So I'm on the All Organisations view, so I've got my biggest data set to start with. And then I'm going to use, from the top right, this Filters button. I've clicked on it and it doesn't know what filter I want to apply, so I can use the down arrow and I'm seeing the same alphabetical list as I saw before. So if I'm looking for things in a particular industry sector, I'm going to type industry, and then I've got a choice of what we call the operator. So does the industry start with or contain or equals or whatever it might be. It's best practice, if you can, to use an exact operator such as equals rather than contains, because it helps to return results quickly for you. So I'm going to say equals IT and telecommunications. If I take my cursor over to the right hand side, there's a couple of arrows here where I can apply those filters. So I'll click on those. And you can see straight away that all of these are in the IT and telecommunications industry. To add an additional filter, I go up and click on this magnifying glass here. You can see it says add another filter. We said we wanted to find the ones that are in London, so the field that holds that data is called town. I'm typing ahead to get there rather than scrolling down. So I'll say town equals London. And the third one that we said we wanted to use was about the number of employees being greater than 500. So again, click to add another filter, and number, I started typing number of employees is greater than. Notice Workbooks understands what kind of data you're filtering on. The first two were what we call strings of data, so it was looking for things like equals and contains. The number of employees is actually a number field, an integer field, so it uses operators like does not, equal, is less than, is greater than. So I'm going to choose is greater than 500 and I'll apply that. And we've got down to just 2 records. Notice as well that with the number of employees, I haven't got that column switched on in my view, but the filter will still work without having that activated. However, particularly when you're new to this sort of thing, you might want to switch that column on just to make sure that what you've filtered on is right. So I've just switched it on and there we go. We can see that certainly the number of employees there exceeds 500. When you're happy with the way that things look, you can use the View button up at the top again and use Save As to give the view a name. So I'll call this IT London greater than 500 employees. When I click OK, that view will appear in the list of views on the left-hand side. And there it is. Now that I've got a view that I've given a name to, I can share this with other users if I want to. So again, I go up to View and Sharing. It's the padlock symbol. You should have seen this before on records. It's a way that we share things within workbooks. So I click on the padlock and then I can add a rule and I can share this view with specific groups of users or with individuals. I'm not going to do that, but that's how you would. When you apply a filter, the default behaviour is to apply them all as ANDs. So in my view, it's find me all organisations in the IT and telecoms sector, and they're in London, and they employ more than 500 people. But you can modify these settings using the options towards the top right. This drop down here. So it defaults to match all, but we can change it. I could change it to match any. What that means is, if I do that, it means that I would see all organisations in the IT and telecoms industry, regardless of which town they're in or how many people they employ, plus all the organisations in London, regardless of what industry sector they're in or how many people they employ, plus all the organisations employing more than 500 people, regardless of what industry sector or town they're in. So I'll just do that to show you. I'll change it and apply the filters. And we're seeing a real mix here. We are seeing an IT business, but it's in Reading. We are seeing Aerosystems PR, for example, is in London, but it's not in the IT industry, it's in the professional services. And down here, Aon Limited isn't in London, it isn't in the IT business, but over on the right you can see that they do employ more than 500 people. This isn't changing my view because I haven't, not permanently changing my view because I haven't clicked save, but it's just to show you how you can apply filters differently. There's also a custom option you can use when applying the filters. Imagine that you want to find all the organisations in the IT and telecoms sector, but don't care where they are or how many people they employ, but you also want to see organisations in London who employ more than 500 people. You can use the filter settings here to choose custom, and in that scenario you would say that you wanted to see rows 1 or 2 and 3, and you've got to be careful to include your brackets, but then I could apply that, and that changes the view slightly because now we're getting Workbooks, for instance, who are in the IT industry but not in London, and they don't employ more than 500 people, as well as Amarada Logistics, for example, who are in London and have more than 500 people, but they're not in the IT sector. So it's going a bit deeper. You may not ever need to use those custom filters, but it's important that you know that they exist. Whatever filters you apply, the views are dynamic, by which I mean that if new records are added to the system that fit the filter criteria, the list will grow, or conversely, if you modify a record or delete a record that previously fitted the criteria, then the list will contract. You can control which views appear in the column on the left-hand side here using this cog symbol at the top of the Views section. For example, if you didn't want to see the partners, here you can remove it. If I click on the cog, I'll show you. Here we go. So if you don't want to see the partners view, click on it and then take the tick out of the show box and click Save and Close. Similarly, that new view that I created, the IT Industries London with more than 500 employees, maybe I want that to be the second thing that appears directly under the My Organisations view. So click on it and you'll see there is a position option, and I can say yes, make it appear after My Organisations. And now automatically on the left hand side my new view is the second thing in the list, and there is no longer a view for partners. You can always go back in and switch the partners view back on if you want to, or move these views around, entirely up to you. The approach to customising landing pages can be applied to other grids in Workbooks as well. I've got the Atlantic Computer Services Organisation record open on the screen at the moment, and if I were to go to the Opportunities tab here, we can see that there are 13 opportunities, but maybe I want to see who the opportunities are assigned to. That column isn't currently switched on. So in exactly the same way as we did with landing pages, I can hover over the top and go to columns and switch on the Assigned To field. And now here it is over on the right hand side. Similarly, I might want to use filters so that I can just see a particular set of these records. Maybe I just want to see the open deals. Under the covers in Workbooks, each opportunity stage is given a corresponding state of either open or closed, which you can use to make it easy to focus in on the opportunities of interest. So if I were to want to see my open opportunities, I can apply a filter and say that the field I want to test, if you like, is state equals open. And that takes me down to just the 2 opportunities that are in that state at the moment. As before, if I want the Opportunities tab on all the organisations I look at to always show me just the open opportunities, then I should go up to the View button on the top right and click Save. This won't affect how your colleagues see this tab when they're looking at organisation records, but it will just change how you see things. There's a tip to making filters a bit easier and a bit quicker that you might want to use. If I go to the Activities tab, it doesn't have to be the Activities, but just as an example, at the moment we've got 11 activities in here of different types as phone calls, next steps, notes and so on. Maybe I want to be able to quickly find these, but when I visit this screen, sometimes I want phone calls, sometimes I want resolution, sometimes I want something else. So I can apply a filter to the type field, or whichever field I'm interested in. And if I just say type starts with and do view save, it means that every time I visit this page, I can just type in what I'm looking for on this occasion. There we go, I can easily get to the phone calls. However, another time maybe I want to see the to-do records. It just means you don't have to set up the filter every time, so it's quite a good tip. Applying filters and using saved views across workbooks is a really good way to help you focus in on the records that you want to see quickly and easily. So I really do recommend that you take a few minutes to set up the ones that you need in your system. Thank you for watching this tutorial, which I hope you found useful. For more information, remember to visit our knowledge base, which you can find at www.workbooks.com/knowledge_base. Thanks, bye bye.